It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. I've been doing this for, 4 years, going on 5. Been selling real estate for 10 here in the Low Country. And if this is your first time tuning in, this is a show that talks about residential real estate. We talk about the housing market. We focus on education. We help prepare you for whenever it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. We keep you up to date with what's going on in our market. And I also give you kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what happens in our industry so that you can better understand what real estate agents are all about and how they can help you, and at times how they can potentially hurt you. And we're going to talk about some of those things over the course of the next hour. Little housekeeping to get out of the way. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you'd like to learn more about working with my team, I can be reached at 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about my team, who we are, what we do, what we've sold. Learn more about our marketing. And, of course, if you're thinking about selling your house, we are still offering the 2.4% listing commission to sell your home. We've also partnered with a local lender that will pay up to $5,000 of the closing costs if the buyer that purchases your home uses that lender and gets a mortgage. And then, of course, when you go to buy a home, that lender will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs. So a bunch of different ways for you to save some money by working with our team. And we invite you to give us a call if that's something we can help you with. Again, 843-345-1273. So let me give you an idea of what we want to talk about over the next hour. We're going to talk first about just the art of selling real estate and how I think in some cases real estate agents have kind of gotten away from that. We've become too systematic, too reliant upon technology. We're losing some of our edge. We're going to talk a little bit about how the public perceives us as real estate agents, what's important to buyers and sellers. We're going to talk about some things you can do to fix up your home to sell it for the most money possible that are relatively inexpensive. And then we're also going to talk about for sale by owners. We're going to talk about if you're a buyer, what you need to know and how you can potentially save up to 10% on the purchase price using a few tactics that I've learned along the way. So that's the plan. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the art of selling real estate, which is what I'm calling this segment, if you will. But it kind of starts with a little bit of a story. So I went to the Mount Pleasant Boat Show, which was, I guess, last weekend or maybe 2 weekends ago, looking at some boats, found one I really liked, gave my information to the salesman and said, call me on Monday. I'd like to go and I'd like to test drive the boat. Well, Monday rolls around, didn't hear from him. Gave him a call on Tuesday, said, hey, haven't heard from you. Give me a call so we can set something up. Didn't hear back from him. And here we are. I have still not heard from the guy whom I told I was very interested in test driving the boat, and I'm a buyer. I would have bought that boat. But here's what happened. Between the time that I saw that boat, I have now found another boat that I want better. And so it got me thinking about this industry in general, about real estate in general, and about how difficult at times it is to get a real estate agent on the phone. I mean, we can talk until we're blue in the face about everything that we do and all the marketing programs we have and all the bells and whistles we have, but nothing will ever replace hard work. It's interesting. There's a study that was done by Baylor University, and it essentially researched the response rate and the response time of real estate agents as it related to property inquiries. People that go online or they ask a question about a property, and this report is very interesting. It's exactly what I expected it would be. Here's what it says. It says that as far as the agent response rate is concerned, a bunch of people sent agents texts. Only 45% of those texts were responded to. They sent a bunch of emails to real estate agents. Only 51% of those emails were responded to. They called a bunch of agents. 71% of the phone calls were either answered or returned, meaning almost 30% of the phone calls from somebody saying, hey, I'm interested in a property, never got called back. I deal with this all the time. And if you look at the response time, the text usually took about 30 minutes. A phone call got returned in an hour and 45 minutes, and an email, if it was returned, which happened 50% of the time, took 5 hours and 35 minutes on average. You know, there's an old adage in real estate that says sometimes you don't have to be the best agent, you just have to be there. You know, that's how a lot of real estate agents sold in this, really in any market. You know, the buyer seller goes with the first person they meet, and they do that 2/3 of the time. That's the National Association of Realtors statistic, and that's held true for at least a decade. So clearly, it's not just about marketing a home everywhere for people to see. It's about effectively communicating with them in a timely manner for the benefit of our client. You know, another stat, you know, I don't know the source, but it's widely known, and this applies to the sales industry in general, and it's been around for a long time, but it says that if you don't respond to an inquiry within 15 minutes or less, your chance of converting that lead drops down below 1%. You know, I think about all the people I've worked with that previously had a home on the market and it didn't sell. And in most cases, the sellers generally agree that the agent did everything they could to try and sell the house. Well, people become enlightened about the real estate process after they've been through it and they failed to sell their home. They are now more educated. The agent they hired, they may have been experienced. They may have had all the bells and whistles the sellers were looking for when they interviewed to hire a real estate agent to help them sell their house. But one thing will forever hold true in this industry, and again, in any sales-based industry for that matter, there is always a large gap between people selling a lot of real estate and those that just don't. I was looking at this yesterday, there's about 3,700 agents in our MLS that have registered at least one sale so far this year. So to be in the top 10% of agents in our market, the top 370 agents, you have to have sold 16 homes so far this year. That's slightly more than one a month, meaning nearly 90% of our realtor population sells less than a home a month. And I'm here to tell you, it's tough to make a living in this business by selling a home a month unless you're selling really expensive homes. And that's not usually the case. In fact, if I look at those same metrics and I look at it from a dollar sold or volume standpoint, to be in the top 10%, you have to have sold a little over $5 million worth of real estate. Well, you know, it's 3% commission, and so that's $150,000. But by the time your broker takes a cut and you pay your marketing expenses and your fees and you pay your taxes and everything else that comes along with selling in this business, you're probably left with somewhere around $60,000, $70,000 if you're lucky. And don't get me wrong, that's a great income. You know, when I first started out in this business, I was 21, and my first year, I think I sold 8 homes. Then it just started kind of doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling, and now this year we'll probably sell 200 homes. But I'm telling you this just so you can gain some perspective. You know, sometimes as a seller, as an example, you don't know what you don't know. If you choose the first agent you run into, you might think that their marketing plan is fantastic. It's great. But then you speak with a top agent and you realize, wow, there's so much more that could have been done to sell my home. But it's not just about the bells and whistles. And that's one of the points I want to get across. It's not just the marketing. It's not just about the price of your home. It's not just about what kind of condition your home is in. The process of selling your home demands that the agent runs their business like a business. And that is something that I have focused on for the 10 years that I've been doing this. And it's proved fruitful. But that means following through on the activities that they say they're going to do to market the house. That means actually doing something other than just waiting for agents to call and say, hey, I have a buyer. I want to show your home. It's about working. It's about answering the phone, providing quality information. And this business isn't that hard. Quite frankly, it's just demanding. And people want information now. They want answers to their questions now. They want to see a home now. The agents that take a lackadaisical approach really just aren't going to be as successful as the other agents that are outworking them, plain and simple. That's why there's such a huge gap between the people at the top and then the people fighting to get to the top. And so for you as a seller, I encourage you to ask the hard questions. Really get a sense for what the agent is going to do for you to get your home sold, and then hold them accountable to those actions, because most of the time, and this is the truth, they aren't holding themselves accountable, and they don't have sellers that are holding them accountable. hire somebody with a reputation of getting the job done so you can accomplish your real estate goals, and then you can move on with your life. You know, I haven't met a person yet that enjoys having 25, 30, 40, 50 people walk through their home without making an offer, without selling their house. I haven't met a person yet that enjoys that part of the process. So it's not just about the marketing. It's not just about getting people through the door. It's about the art of selling real estate. It's about providing people with information, responding quickly, being intuitive. It's sales. You got to hire somebody that knows what they're doing in the sales role. I don't think it's a bad thing to be a salesman. Now, I'm not a salesman with my clients. I'm an advisor with my clients. But when they hire me to sell their home, that's the role that I adopt. And I think that's the way it should be. I hope you would agree. So if you're thinking about selling your home, or if you're one of those folks that have tried selling your home this year and it did not work for whatever reason, maybe the agent did everything they could and it's just, now you're at a standstill. You don't know whether to put your home back on the market or wait until next year. I'm telling you right now, there is still a ton of activity in this market. We just took a listing that was basically $1.4 million, sat on the market for 6 months, didn't sell, had a handful of showings. We took it over, put our marketing plan to work. We sold it in 3 weeks at a very good price. And it's because buyers are out there. You just have to entice them. You have to provide them with the information that gets them to perk up, that gets them to raise their eyebrows and say, wow, that's a good value. But you have to sell the value. You have to understand the value. So if that's something I can help you with, you're thinking about selling your house, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to help. And of course, here to save you some money as well. 2.4% commission on the listing side to help you sell your home. My number is 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And it doesn't have to be just about selling your house. We obviously work with buyers and investors, and we spend a lot of our time really just answering a lot of general knowledge questions and being helpful to people. So happy to do that. When we come back, we're going to talk about the public's perception of a realtor and what you need to look for when you're going to hire a real estate agent. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm Brian Beatty, and thanks again for spending some time with me this morning as we talk about real estate here in the Low Country. Anything that matters with regard to housing, we discuss. We just talked about kind of the art of selling real estate and how I think a lot of agents have moved away from that, or at least have not spent as much time as I think they need to be spending on working on their sales skills. Just plain and simple. We're very systematized as an industry. We're very coached to communicate with people without any sort of personality. We send emails, we send texts, we provide information, but we lose a connection with them along the way, whether it be the client that we represent or the buyer or the seller that we are trying to help our client buy or sell. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. So I want to talk about this just a little bit more. I want to talk about the public's perception of a real estate agent and what really do you need to know if you're going to hire a real estate agent. And if, again, if I can help you, you're looking at hiring a real estate agent, happy to interview for the position. I can be reached at 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about our team, who we are, what we do, what we sell, all that fun stuff. And again, 2.4% commission to sell your home. That's good through the end of the year. Properties are still selling very quickly for good money in multiple offer situations. It's still a good seller's market, folks. So don't let the idea that the market slows down this time of year hold you back from accomplishing your goals. A lot of people are selling and they haven't been on the market for more than a week or two. So it's still out there. It's still very, very, very possible. But let's just kind of switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the public's perception of a real estate agent. I think the negative perception of a realtor in today's world is that they're lazy, they're untruthful, they're all the same, they're poor communicators, they're unimaginative, they don't have any outside of the box marketing ideas. And speaking of marketing, a lot of them don't do any. They just kind of put the home on the MLS and wait for other agents to show it. Or, of course, there's the perception that all the agent cares about is the commission. That's all they're after. They don't really care about you. They just want to get paid and move on to the next one. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of people out there that feel like real estate agents do a great job. In fact, and this is an interesting statistic, 88% of people said that they would buy or sell a home using the same agent, meaning that they're actually very satisfied with the agent during the process. However, only 12% of people actually used their same agent more than once. Isn't that interesting? Maybe it's because there's a lack of service after the sale. Maybe that's because they felt like, hey, we got the deal done. Commission check got cut. Sayonara. There's a lot that we can do to offer value after the sale, whether it be helping you with your tax appraisal, whether it be helping you with a list of contractors. You know, something comes up at the home. You don't have a go-to guy to fix that certain thing. Well, we do. And the agents that are selling a lot of real estate have a whole plethora of people they can choose from. We certainly do. And so there are a lot of things we can do to help you outside of just the transaction. But what's really important to a buyer or a seller when they're hiring an agent? You know, I think first of all, they go to sales. You know, how experienced is that agent? How many homes are they selling? How quickly are they selling? What's their days on market? Here's an important one. What's the percentage of the listing price to the sales price? Are you getting really close on your price? Are you telling people the truth about what it should actually sell for? Or are you one of those agents that are just kind of telling the seller what they want to hear to get the listing, and then at some point in the future, when it's been on the market for a few months and they become motivated to sell or more motivated to sell, you hit them up for a price reduction and then you sell it. You buy your time, so on and so forth. So there's the sales, there's the experience. You know, how long have you been selling real estate, and what sort of experience have you picked up along the way? I'm negotiating, or we're getting out of the contract, unfortunately, because the inspection was a mess. It was a disaster. The house was just in shambles almost. It's tons of work. $50,000 worth of work easily on a $300,000 house. Not good. But the listing agent's like, honey, I've been doing this for 25 years. You don't need to tell me blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm not going to be strong-armed by an agent that's been doing this for 25 years. I got 1,000 transactions under my belt. You're not going to intimidate me or my client. And so for the people that are, we've been doing this for 30 years. Well, how many homes have you sold in that 30-year period? You know, some people are part-timers that have been part-time in it for decades. That doesn't really mean much, in my opinion, quite frankly. The length of time that you've been in the business, what kind of experiences do you actually have? How good are you at problem solving? What do you know about the market and the market trends, and how are you relaying that information to your client to help prepare them for the transaction? And then people will kind of shift over to things like likability. You know, how do I feel about this person when I'm interviewing them? Can I trust them? Does it seem as though they actually care about me and my goals? Or are they just spitting off marketing after marketing after marketing? It's a dog and pony show of we do this and we do that and we do this and we do that. And they don't take the time to listen to why you're actually selling your house. I think that is the biggest and most amateur move that we have in this market right now, is people just going in there and shotgun blasting all their marketing without taking the time to understand why the client is selling. That's what an experienced agent does. They sit down and they say, all right, tell me what your goal is. What are your hopes for this process? You know, what do you expect out of me? And let me tell you what I do and how I do it differently to help you understand a little bit more about my company and how I run it and the success we've had along the way, so on and so forth. And then you'll look at things like reputation. You know, do they have a bunch of endorsements? Do they have testimonials? Is the agent willing to give you a list of their past 5 transactions and say, yeah, you can call anybody you want. They'll tell you how I do. Not a lot of agents would probably do that, just by the way. Of course, the commission is a big thing. You know, obviously, you guys know that I sell my listings for 2.4% commission, which is, a significant amount less than what everybody else is charging. By the way, there are plenty of agents out there that are selling as much or as few or fewer homes than I am, and they're charging 7% commission and or a transaction fee of somewhere between $600 and almost $1,000, which essentially just means you're paying for your own marketing. I pay for all that. I think that's the right thing to do, quite frankly. And then, we can switch over to something like flexibility. Is there flexibility in the agreement? In my agreements, I say that there's a communication guarantee. I'm going to be in touch with you at least once per week from the time we list until the time we sell. And if I don't, you can fire me. And it's in writing. It's in the listing agreement. I also say that, hey, if you decide not to sell your home or if something happens, I'll let you out of your agreement. That's no big deal. I'm not here to force you or strong arm you into selling your home when you don't want to sell it. And let's be honest, not every agent and client work harmoniously together. There are plenty of times where the agent and the client are butting heads. I would say that that's not atypical. That's not unnatural. But I do think that if you're coming from contribution, you're offering your expertise and you're offering an opinion that's not slanted by your interest or necessity for a commission. You're saying you're essentially playing devil's advocate. And I kind of got in trouble for that a few days ago because I wasn't being argumentative in any way, shape, or form. I was helping my client understand the ramifications of a decision he was about to make. And he's like, why don't you care about my side? Why aren't you fighting for me? And I said, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what's happening here. Of course I care about your goals. I'm here to represent you. I'm helping you understand what might happen should we choose to go down this path. And I think that a professional will stand up and say those kinds of things rather than just be a yes man and allow their client to go down a path that could potentially be destructive to the deal. It's my responsibility as a real estate agent and as an advisor to say, okay, we can do that if you want. You're in the driver's seat. Let me just give you my opinion. Here's what could happen. I think that's really important. And it ties in with honesty and integrity. Will they tell you the truth? Will they admit when they're wrong? Have they made a mistake? Can you trust them? Do they actually care about you? All those kinds of things. And so, in this market, in an effort to be the best option for sellers in this market, realtors they're stretching the truth. They're embellishing their sales. They're saying, I'm number one this, number one that. They're telling people what they want to hear, and they're looking for anything they have in common with you to try and make you feel like they can relate to you so that they can earn your trust. And that's what a lot of people do in sales, and it's just part of the game. But then they get you to sign an agreement, and then bam, they tell you what the house is really worth. At some point in the future, you end up reducing your price, when in reality, it should have been at that price at the very beginning. And you've just wasted time because the agent didn't have the backbone to say, hey, I know you want to sell your home for this much, and I totally understand that. Here's what the market's saying. I'm not here to, set the price for you. I can't demand a certain price for your home. It's what a buyer's willing to pay. But based on the market and the trends within it, here's what I expect to happen. And a really good agent is going to walk you through that. They're going to give you realistic ideas. So I know that this can be a frustrating process for a seller. I mean, I deal with this all the time. It's also frustrating for real estate agents like me that tell people the truth and work hard at running my business like a business and having professionalism and integrity and in trying to set ourselves apart from the public's negative perception of real estate agents. But, the public wouldn't have these perceptions of real estate agents if they weren't at least partly true. I mean, quite frankly, I think we've earned our reputation. And it's just frustrating when an agent goes into a home and they know that the price that they tell you ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. But you know what? It sounds good. They're agreeable. They're on your side when it comes to price. I'm not here to choose sides. I'm here to just be the person that can properly and adequately reflect conditions within the market and then apply it to your home and your situation to help you understand whether or not your goals are accomplishable or not. That's really straightforward, but you've got all these agents out there. Our market is so flustered at the moment because listings are hard to come by. We're putting them on the market, but they're selling fast. Inventory isn't just low, it's getting lower in many areas of the Charleston Tri-County area. So as real estate agents fighting for market share, especially when there's a few agents talking to a seller and interviewing, I'd just watch out. That's all I'm going to say, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear to get you to sign an agreement with them. And then as soon as they have that, they're like, bam, I got it. I'll do a good job for them. And at some point, hopefully, I can get the price reduced and actually sell this home. But even if I can't, that's okay, because I'm going to at least get buyer leads, or at least I can use this listing as leverage to go and get another listing, or use it as bragging rights, or whatever the case might be. And that's it. Just for me, there's nothing worse in this industry than when people do that. I can't stand it. And I am not going to play that game. I have walked away from well over a dozen listings this year, some of which were in competitive situations. And I have to stand up and say, I'm sorry, but if that's what you need, and that's truthfully the number you need to sell this home, then I can't help you. And another agent that you interview should tell you the same thing, because I don't think that the market is there yet. But what I can do is watch the market, and as soon as I think it will bear that price, I'll give you a call immediately. But I'm not going to put you through the rigmarole of putting your home on the market, making you leave your home for an hour and a half every single time someone wants to walk through it, keep your home in pristine condition, put you through all that stress unnecessarily. It's just something that I believe in. It's how I've always run my business. I am not here to take overpriced listings with the hope that at some point the seller will become more realistic about their price. I just think that's wrong. But it happens all the time in this industry. So you as the seller, or you as somebody listening to this program, hopefully are educated. You know, I'm not here to, these are kind of some strong words, I get that, but I'm not here to sugarcoat anything, guys. The purpose of this show is to educate you, not just on the housing market and the process of buying or selling a home. It's to help prepare you for success. And you need to understand some of these things. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some things you can do to fix up your home at very low cost to increase the value of your home. Yes, there are things you can do, and I'm going to tell you that when we come back. If you're thinking about selling your home, or if you've tried selling your home and it didn't work, and you want to talk with me about my process, happy to do that for you guys. Remember, 2.4% commission. I can be reached at 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I always like to take just a little bit of time to say thank you to those of you that listen to this program and use it for your own education as it relates to the housing market. And when it comes time to buy or sell a home, those of you that call and we talk about the process, can't say thank you enough. Really do enjoy doing this program. It's very therapeutic for me, although it might not sound like that at times because I get a little hot and heavy on this show sometimes. But do want to say thank you, and it's always it's cool to hear people say, yeah, you know, we listen to your show and it's good stuff. So thanks. Keep the compliments coming because it's helping me. But if you know of a topic that you'd like more information on, maybe something I don't cover very often, feel free to give me a call. I'm all ears. If there's something you want to learn more about, I'll devote a segment to it, and you've got my word on that. My number is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. You can also contact me through my website, listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about my team, our success, our marketing, so on and so forth. Remember the 2.4% listing commission to sell your home, as well as that deal that I have with the local lender where if a buyer purchases your home, you're a seller, buyer purchases your home, that lender will pay $5,000 of that buyer's closing costs, saving you that money. Then when you go to buy a home, he'll give you the same $5,000 or up to 1% of the purchase price, whichever is less. So a bunch of different ways to try and help you save some money throughout this process. Feel free to give us a call, and we'll help you through that, 843-345-1273. So let me talk about a few things that you can do to raise your home's selling price. I always look online for all kinds of things that I can use on this program. A lot of it is just based off of kind of what happened in my week in real estate. And, you know, when you're doing about 200 transactions a year, there's never really a shortage of things to talk about. But after 4 years, you know, you start looking for some content that's new and exciting. And I came across this, and it was a report from HomeGain.com, which is a real estate-based website. And it gives you 10 things that you can do to raise the value of your home, the associated cost, and the return on the investment. So these aren't my projections. This is just from the article. But I do want to give you my opinion after this. So let's just kind of get right into it. They said that, staging is number one. A couple air fresheners here, moving around some furniture, decluttering, some fresh flowers, maybe some plants, and some simple decorations, and you've got a fresh look on your house. And they say the average cost of that is $75, but it can result in almost a $2,500 return on that $75 investment. And I will tell you that I agree. I think that staging is one of the most, if not the most important and cost-effective things you can do to sell your home for more money. I just staged a home for a client of mine last week, and I rolled up my sleeves and I helped him out. His wife's pregnant; she's not moving anything around, so we just got to work. And it took about an hour. But when we were done, we both just kind of sat back and we were like, "Man, this place looks awesome." He's like, "Yeah, can we stay?" I was like, "Nope, got to sell it. Sorry, man." But anyway, staging is number one, and that's something that I help my clients with. You got agents out there that say, "Oh yeah, we can bring in a staging professional. It's just $250 for 2 hours of their time." And no, I've seen 10,000 homes. I know how to stage a home. I'll tell you what you need to do and not do. Not do being one of the most important parts of that sentence. A lot of people, before they get ready to sell, just start doing anything that they can think of with no respect to a budget, without the understanding that not everything they do is going to result in a return on investment. That takes me to number two, which is cleaning and organizing, which is free, by the way. They have $75 on here, but giving your home a good top to bottom cleaning, removing items from countertops and floors, and putting your paperwork away, cleaning your bathrooms. Gosh, there's nothing worse than walking into a dirty bathroom when you're shopping for a new home. Easy things that you can do. They say $75, it's a 1,500% return on your investment. I tend to agree. Along with staging, cleaning is just as important. Then it goes down to carpet cleaning. They say, if you've got some spots on your carpet, do the spot cleaning. It's going to cost you around $7,500. It's going to return a 1,500% return on your investment. I think that if your carpet is too far gone, I think it makes sense to offer an allowance. I don't necessarily agree that it makes sense to replace the carpeting, especially something like, let's say you've got old Formica countertops and you want to put granite countertops in there. There are so many different kinds of countertops out there. Just give the buyer credit. Let them go shopping. I promise you that they'll find some pleasure in that. Going out and looking at granite, going to a stone yard. It's pretty neat if you've never done it before. Another note here is to just brighten the house. Open up all the blinds before showing. Turn on the lights. That will do wonders for the way the buyer feels as they're walking through the house. Then it goes down to plumbing and electrical. If there's any plumbing repairs or electrical repairs, those are things that scare buyers because they don't know how much additional damage may have been caused due to the neglect of those specific issues. They say that it's going to cost you on average $75. It's going to cost more than that, by the way. They're going to charge you $150 just to come out and diagnose the problem. But they're saying it's a 1,500% return on your investment. I don't really agree with that. I think a repair is a repair. That's not going to help you earn money. It's just going to help you sell your home faster. And there's a difference. And yes, you can argue that equates to money, but it's not going to result in a return on investment. I don't think that's the way to look at that. With regard to flooring, repair and refinish damaged floors, replace cracked tiles, give the floor grout a good cleaning. Somebody like Stanley Steamer does a great job at cleaning grout. I don't know if anybody even knew that, but if your grout's it's old, it's dirty, get it steam cleaned. Man, that stuff will look awesome. And I think that will go a long way, because if people look at tile and they say, man, that tile's kind of tired, we need to replace that. The process of having somebody take out all of that tile and then put it back down is a costly endeavor. So if you just clean it, maybe just skirt that whole objection and move right past it. Landscaping is next. Landscaping, $150. Put out some planters, put out some fresh flowers, put out some mulch or pine straw. Make your yard look good. And I know that we're approaching that time where, our grass is going to start turning pretty soon, and there's not a lot that we can do in terms of new plantings to make the house really pop because it's not the spring or summer months. But there's still plenty of things you can do. And most of all, just make it clean. Edge your lawn. Make it look nice. And that's really all I can say about that. It's just, it's simple stuff. And then, as far as simple stuff is concerned, they talk about interior paint, patch your walls if you've got some damage, sand them down, paint them. But make sure that if you're going to spot paint the walls that you're using the same exact paint. nothing's more frustrating than going in and touching up some of your paint and you realize you just painted satin over eggshell, and now it just is a glaring sore thumb for anybody that walks through the home and you got to paint over it. Just a little tip there. I've made that mistake once on a property that I flipped when I was much younger, and that was a costly mistake. But anywho, as it relates to this list, those are some of the simple things that you can do. Something like kitchens and bathrooms. There's a way to really make your kitchen pop without it being that much money. Let's say your cabinetry is a little older. Look into refinishing or resurfacing those cabinets. Maybe paint them white, chalk paint them. There's a lot of people out there, and you're going to have to. This depends on the neighborhood you're in. This won't fly all the time, but I do think that it looks pretty trendy. Like let's say an area like Park Circle, where things are a little more artsy, where you do a colored paint on the cabinets. It just, in my opinion, it looks good. You just have to know the audience that you're catering to. And so, of that list, I think that there are several things on here that, yes, it will help you sell your home for more money, but I do think the majority of this list, I think it's incorrect in this article that it will create a return on investment. I think these are things that you just need to do, some of the sweat equity you need to put into your property to prepare it for sale so that it sells faster. Your goal is to limit the objections from buyers as they're walking up to the front door and as they're walking through the home and through the backyard. The longer the list they see of things to do, the more they are going to start blinking with dollar signs in their eyes. And guess what? They deduct that off of your price, regardless of whether you've taken that into account when you priced your home or not. That's the tough part. Even if you priced this home into consideration as it relates to the condition, you know that there are things that need to be done. The buyer is still, more often than not, going to try and cut your price down because of the things that they see. So we try to minimize those things that they see. This kind of goes hand in hand with doing a preliminary home inspection, which most of the time, quite frankly, I don't think is the best idea. If, however, the home is older, you've got some HVAC systems that are older, your roof is older, you're on a crawl space, nobody's really been down there for a few years. I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the big ticket items that are really going to throw this sale off, that are going to be a big surprise to you. There might be some things they find on the inside of the house, but generally speaking, most people know what the issues are with their house as they're living in it. So doing a preliminary home inspection, some people swear by it. Frankly, I'm just not in that group of people. I think that at times it's appropriate to spend that kind of money. I just don't think that, for the most part, it should be this blanketed approach to taking a listing and selling a listing. So that's my take on that. Again, some of this stuff might help you sell it for more money, but most of it will just help you sell it sooner. Now, I have got about a 10-page ebook that I wrote called Helping You Sell Your Home for More Money. It's a list of 90 things that you can do through every single room in your house. It also talks about the process of showings, how to prepare your home for sale, what to do as people are walking through it. And if you'd like a copy of that, I'm happy to send that to you. I spent a good amount of time writing it, and it's just a compilation of everything that I've learned over the past 10 years in selling real estate. So if you want a copy of that, feel free to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And just send me a message and say, hey, Brian, send me that ebook you were telling me about on the show this weekend. Or give me a call, 843-345-1273. You can text me at that number, 843-345-1273. So when we come back, I'm going to help you guys understand what you need to know if you're going to buy a for sale by owner, and I'm going to give you a few tips. Some for sale by owners probably aren't going to be very happy about this, by the way, but I'm going to help you try and save some money. I'm going to help you negotiate if you choose not to work with a real estate agent. So stick around, all that and more, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for sticking with me over the past hour as we've talked about issues in the real estate market. Really more so to do with real estate agents, a little bit to do with the process of selling your home, but really just giving you some insight into our industry and what you need to do to prepare yourself for the process of working with a real estate agent, educating you on how we think, how we operate, what to watch out for. But I've promised you some tips if you're going to buy a for sale by owner, and I want to get to that because we've only got a few minutes left. If you do want to reach out to me, you want to have a conversation off air about your interest in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Remember, 2.4% commission and up to $5,000 in closing costs covered if you use our preferred lender. So here we go. If you're going to buy a for sale by owner, the first thing that I want to tell you, if you're a buyer, is that more often than not, the for sale by owner will cooperate with a buyer agent. Remember, as a buyer, you don't pay the real estate agent's commission. Very, very rarely does a buyer pay a real estate agent's commission. Very rarely. It's a cost that's borne on by the seller. Now, obviously, for sale by owners sell for one main reason, and that's to save the commission. But sellers will usually work with real estate agents and will say, hey, if we bring you a ready, willing, and able buyer that purchases your home, will you pay us a 3% commission, which is what we would earn if we went and showed all the other homes that are available for sale that have already agreed to pay us a commission. Most of the time, they'll say yes. So that's something that you need to know. I don't think that it makes a ton of sense for you to go at this process by yourself. Tell you something else. Don't necessarily think of this home any differently. If you walk through the house and it's in a prime location and it meets all your criteria, then, don't think of it any differently than any other home that you're going to walk through and buy. The thing that you have to prepare yourself for, though, is that you are going to be meeting the seller face to face. You are going to be having a conversation with the seller. So you have to apply some strategy here. That seller, if they know what they're doing, they're going to try and get some information out of you. They're going to talk you up. They're going to, learn more about you. You're going to chit chat. You're going to try and feel as though you're relatable rather than just being all business and, eyes down, walking through the house to see if you want to buy it or not. They're more than likely going to want to chat with you. Just make sure that when you're talking to that seller that you don't say anything that would potentially compromise your ability to negotiate the very best deal possible for yourself. And this probably happens all the time. They'll say something like, oh, well, we absolutely love the house. And, actually our son's best friend lives 8 doors down. And so it's fantastic for us. Well, you might just be conveying your excitement, but guess what? Now the seller knows how much you want their house. And you haven't even gotten to the important part yet, which is negotiating the deal. So just be careful what you're saying. And that's typically why, by the way, we don't like if I'm representing a client and the other buyer or seller is represented by a real estate agent, I don't typically like to have the buyer and the seller communicate with one another just for that very reason. There are plenty of people out here that are very tricky in this industry, agents included, obviously. But this is a poker game. You don't want to show your hand. The third thing I want to say is that the laws still apply to a for sale by owner. The problem with some sellers is when they're going solo, they're just not familiar with the real estate process or the procedures. They want to do it their own way. Or our team, as an example, we show for sale by owners to our buyer clients. It's a good percentage of our daily activities is looking for inventory for our buyers. And so, we'll call them and we'll say, hey, can you send us a copy of your property condition disclosure statement? Followed by crickets. And they're like, well, what's that? Well, it's the document that you fill out to tell us whether or not anything's right or wrong with the house, essentially. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Well, here's a copy of it. It's things like that I think can really get you into trouble. As a buyer or a seller, especially if you've never been through this process, you don't know what you don't know. You've got to be careful. There are certain steps that have to be taken. And, I'm happy to help people walk through that process. Obviously, if you're a buyer and you want to go out and buy something, I think it makes sense to have a real estate agent because you're not going to pay us anything. The seller will. And we'll get them to agree to that. But let's say that you're a buyer and you're buying a for sale by owner and there is no real estate agent involved. This is the trick, okay? So listen closely. Would you agree that all real estate is inflated by 6% because the majority of the sales that occur are done with the assistance of a real estate agent? The real estate agent's commission is usually 6% split between the listing agent and the buyer agent. By the way, I do mine for 2.4%, but that's neither here or there. The point is, if the seller that's for sale by owner is trying to sell their home at fair market value, guess what? They are about to pocket 6% more than everybody else because they're saving those commissions. So if you go to the seller and say, we love your home, but you're not paying any commission, and the whole deal here is for us to save some money, so we want you to take 6% off the price. You'd be surprised at the sellers that will do that. You just have to present it properly. And there's a bunch of other ways that I can help you guys save some money, but give me a call. I'm happy to walk you through that. 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Happy to help you in any way, shape, or form. Have a great weekend, Charleston, and we'll catch you next time on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com.